Welcome back to the experience that, of course, is the Mac Music Review experience. Today we're talking about music, specifically the album Fading West by Switchfoot. Switchfoot, if you didn't know, is a group of surfer bros that got together and said, let's be one of the biggest names in the world of Christian rock and alternative music since the freaking 90s. And they've continued to make albums. They are still prolific to this day. One of their later albums, released in 2014, of course, is Fading West, which released alongside a documentary of the same name that followed the band on tour. The documentary is quite good, and knowing that this album was recorded with the making of the documentary or something, like, I don't know exactly how much this album and the documentary are intertwined, but apparently they do relate to each other in some way, and the process for making each did inflect upon the other in one way or the other. And when you're watching the documentary, basically this entire album is in the documentary, all of these songs, and the songs really do feel extremely fitting for like big cinematic movie moments, and that is really, when you break it down, what this album sounds like it was made to be. It's a bunch of anthems, it's very upbeat, it's very much heart on its sleeve type of music that's just big on emotion, big on sounds, big on, kids choirs and all that kind of stuff. There's not that much kids choir stuff, but there's a little. And the whole thing just sounds like it's trying to be anthemic and soul-searching and just this big statement. And I'm very happy to say that when Switchfoot is working in such broad strokes, they actually are doing very well. The album feels way more cohesive and consistent, just thematically and musically, than the album Where the Light Shines Through, which sees them a lot of times kind of chasing success and chasing this like very radio-friendly brand at times, or chasing something that has worked in the past for other artists like Coldplay and imitating other sounds. But this really feels like it's just them kind of doing their thing and having a really good time while doing it. Love Alone is worth the fight. It gets me, bro. Like, the emotion of this song, like I said, it's just big. There's not a lot of subtlety on the album. It's just them kind of just going at it, just this really heartfelt, pop rock music, really. It doesn't have a lot of grit. It is a little bit more polished. It is a little bit more poppy. It is, like I said, just very anthemic. And that's what's going on with the song, and it just sounds great. And it just works very well. With an amazing hook and a thudding, like, bass. I don't know if bass line is the right word. Thudding, like, drum line, I guess. Who We Are is a massive highlight on the album. It's just, like, if you're not convinced, you may not be sold, like, immediately with, like, the weird little intro, but, like, you'll be sold by the hook, because this song is just, these songs hit you in the heart, man. The first two tracks on this album really do set the stage for the entire album. It rarely diverges from that formula, except for the songs The World You Want and Bass, or BA55. The World You Want is a ballad. It once again brings in a children's choir, and it is a pretty effective ballad, but the balladry is fairly limited on this album, unlike Where the Light Shines Through in other Skillet albums. And the song Bass, or BA55, has a very dark rhythm and backing instrumentals. It has a lot of actual, I don't know if grit is the right word, does some auto-tune, it throws some other things in. It's a massive standout on the album stylistically because it just sounds so different and it stands out so starkly on the track list in a really great way. And you could say this is a bad thing or a good thing, and I'm leaning in the direction of this being a good thing, but there's not much to say about the rest of the album because, like I said, these other songs that I have not yet mentioned yet all really do fit into the same formula of those first two songs. I do think those first two songs are the biggest highlights on the album, besides Bass, or BA55. But the album is consistent and good throughout, and if you do like this, hard on its sleeve, upbeat kind of pop rock that's anthemic and all that kind of stuff, then you can't not have a good time with this album. I really don't have a lot of ways to fault it. I can understand you saying that it's formulaic or that it's not very adventurous and risky as far as diversity between the track list, but when every song is doing a good job at, basically doing the same thing, but doing the same thing pretty well each time, if not very well, then I really just can't fault it too much. And I really do enjoy listening to this album. I think it is a very good album, if not the most adventurous, and I am going to give it 4 stars out of 5. Yeah, I know. You might not be big on this one. I'm gonna give it a big recommendation. This is a big thumbs up for me. But I know some people would not vibe with this. But I'm telling you, if you vibe with one song in this album, you will 100% vibe with the entire album. That's what I can confidently say. If this is your thing, and I feel like it has to be most people's thing. Like, most people would vibe with this. But if you don't like music this earnest and this kind of just like it's not the most nuanced or complex lyrically. It's just kind of, you can get emotion and you can get meaningful messages and things out of it, but you kind of have to pull that out of it yourself, because it does feel almost sort of surface level, just because it's not super personal sounding or detailed. But it really doesn't bother me too much. This is really just an album that is just full of heart, and I really like it. So thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.